headline never tells the whole story, and while a lot of religious headlines have been getting a lot of attention lately, our next guest says there are a handful of religious trends that offer a more accurate perspective. Shima Baughman is a BYU law professor and a distinguished fellow at the Wheatley Institute. She has her eye on 4 religious trends shaping our country's current social and emotional landscape. Good to see you. Good to have you.
Good to be with you.
You're so great, Shima, at not only identifying these trends or these movements, but bringing context to what they mean to everyday people, everyday families. Let's start with this strong correlation between religious and happiness. What are we learning? What do we know?
Yeah, so interesting. So Ryan Burge is kind of at the forefront of this. I always look at his data right when he comes out with it, and recently he came out with his data that shows that people that are religious and are actively religious in their faith are basically 20% more happy than those that don't affiliate with a faith, which is huge when you think of happiness kind of data.
Yeah, absolutely. Does it point to a specific group of people that benefit the most from religious worship?
Yeah, it seems like all, but he does actually highlight, and I think maybe because of his own Christian faith, that Christians actually are dramatically higher in happiness than those who are not affiliated with any faith. And the more active they are, so weekly worshipers, he calls them, or weekly plus, like people that spent more than one day a week in their congregation or serving with them, are the most happy of any demographic.
Okay, so frequency and consistency counts toward that. What about the type of worship, like online versus in person or reading versus writing?
Yes, and this is something he's looked at, which is where online worship does do better if you're a little bit better than if you're not worshiping, but not dramatic like the results of in-person worship. So he has definitely found if you're zooming into church, you're not going to be as happy as if you show up and shake hands and give hugs and all the things that you can only do in person.
There's something about that in-person contact that drives the message a little deeper. What do we know, Shima, about people who do worship regularly? How is this maybe affecting their worldviews?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people that worship regularly are having more gratitude, they're having more joy, they're having more opportunities to serve and look outside themselves. And I think one of the trends I've noticed, and we've talked about before, is sometimes when we're so focused inwardly on our own problems and our own families, we lose sight of what there is out in our communities and often are less happy. So this kind of self-care idea doesn't seem to be poured out in the data. When you look at the data, it's like, no, the more you care for others, the more happy you end up being.
Which is so interesting because it does put religiosity in its own unique box. I mean, the world narrative right now, the outside narrative is all about the self-care, the boundaries, and it seems the religious approach, you know, breaks down those boundaries, breaks down those walls, and points the heart out. What do you see as the takeaways from this research? Is there like an overarching story that you find is a strong takeaway?
Yeah, I think, you know, especially as we're thinking of our younger generation, I think, well, a couple things. One is, you know, when you think about people that are born in the 80s and 90s, they're the most benefiting from religion. So any of you born in the 80s and 90s, keep up with that. If that's something, a choice you're trying to make, should I go to a church, should I not? They are found to be the most benefited. And also another trend I think I'm watching is, you know, Gen Z. So young women and young men, I think young women are disaffiliating with religion a little bit higher rates than men who are more interested in religion. And that worries me that there's a divide with people where, you know, Gen Z men interested in marriage, interested in faith, Gen Z women a little bit less interested. And some of that also kind of correlates with politics. And so that's something I'm concerned about and watching.
You wonder how that might affect marriage rates or connection opportunities going forward.
If men are going to the right and women are going to the left, like when do we come together, and can we come together?
Things to watch. Thank you so much for your insight.
Of course.